What is up, everybody? Welcome to this week's episode of the Dense Pixels Podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Brad, joined by my co-host, Micah.
Brad, I've done it. I've figured out how to solve racism.
How can we solve racism?
You do it by doing what these characters in this JRPG do. And essentially, spoiler alert, it's a JRPG with the universe at stake. So what do you do in order to solve it? You kill God, basically.
Man, they're just like now I'm trying to think of any. Now you're getting me to really sit back and think about any RPG, any JRPG specifically.
They are all atheist. They're all atheist.
Yeah, but I'm just trying like which the main boss, like the final boss in the game, is not to kill either literally God or another godlike being.
Yeah.
Because you can go like Final Fantasy VI, God. Final Fantasy VII, godlike being. Final Fantasy VIII, sorceress with time traveling powers. Godlike being in my book. Final Fantasy.
And she wasn't even like the final boss. The final boss is God. So
yeah, Final Fantasy IX, late game switcheroo, God. Final Fantasy X, godlike being. Final Fantasy.
I mean, it's literally called sin.
Yeah.
Final Fantasy X.
it just keeps going. Obviously all the SMT games, as Gary told us, all feature you killing God. Look, this is a culture and a mindset that I can get behind. I'm here for it. I am down with your what's the word for God homicide? I know there's a word for it.
Like deicide?
Is that a thing? That doesn't feel like it's a thing.
It doesn't feel like a word.
Yeah,
but I don't know. I figured you would know.
Let's see it. Let's see if Google can come through for me here. No, it is deicide. You are correct.
Oh, all right.
So that sounded not real and too easy. I suppose Christians would call it patricide.
No, we call it Easter.
I thought Easter is when zombies Easter rises from the grave.
Yeah, Easter is Resurrection Sunday. That's what Black people call Easter. Resurrection Sunday.
It makes it like a football event.
Good Friday is what we call the death of that's what happened. Good Friday.
Good Friday is when Jesus gets murked by his 12 closest friends.
Yeah, there you go.
Good Friday. You think if Friday was a bad Friday, it would be the one where Jesus was like, "Why are you guys coming at me like this? I don't understand. That's my hand. Ow, it hurts." Speaking of football, the first ever, we missed it last week because I wasn't looking far enough ahead on the schedule. The first ever Dense Pixels derby was this past weekend as Chelsea took on Tottenham Hotspur, Micah's club against my club. And look, what a match. Like I said, I stopped watching at halftime, and a deserved draw from Tottenham, where Tottenham definitely had the better of the play in the match.
Yeah, I feel like you should go back and finish it.
Nah, you know what? I feel like I'm good. I feel like I'm good. No, that was awful. I knew as soon as Conte came on because basically like through that match, like through the first half, we were bossing. Tottenham was bossing the midfield, but Conte wasn't playing. I was actually a little surprised when they didn't have Conte in the starting lineup. And then Conte came on in the second half, and that was the end of that. Because even though he's like lost a step a little bit, he's still probably like one of the three best pivots, as they're called, or defensive midfielders in the Premier League. He's very good.
Yeah, I'm still, new to this, so I had to look him up. And apparently that guy he's a beast.
Yes, he is a fucking monster. He is a great defensive player, fantastic on the ball, a great passer out of the back out of the back of the midfield. Very important for ball progression. And yeah, he is just a really good football player. And then Tottenham responded to going down 2-0 by pulling off their two best ball moving midfielders as well, in Lo Celso and in Ndombele. And I was like, well, I don't know how we're going to get the ball up to Harry Kane and Heung-min Son, but you know, guess we just mailed it in there at the end. So
it's you picked a very good team for me to like, because it's easy to like a team when they're winning and when they're very good. So
yeah, I mean, Chelsea is a legitimate title contender this season. They'll probably be in it till the very end, I would imagine.
Yeah.
And again, it was really frustrating because Spurs definitely did have the better of the play for at least the first like 35 minutes of the game.
I was a little worried when the game first started. I was out riding my bike with my wife and son, and I'm sitting there with my phone on my bike, and I was like, oh, I don't know if I need to pay attention to this right now at this moment, but I was like, but I can't not look away, so we have to hurry up and get home.
Yeah.
And but yeah, I enjoyed it.
Fortunately for me, I am quite used to Tottenham, cocking it up in big games, as it were. That's kind of par for the course with Spurs. I've lived this day many times. Speaking of living the same day over and over again, we're now about a week removed from Deathloop's release. I've put in probably another good like 8 hours, give or take. I feel like I am close to getting like the proper sequences of events lined up in order to take out all of the visionaries in one day. I've been doing the side quests, kind of unraveling some of the under stories in the game. What I appreciate about Deathloop is that it is not a game that pressures you to play it a ton. Like the narrative that it kind of dangles in front of you is sparing, but it's not like, like, oh, I have to find out what happens next, because you're kind of like filling in sequences and filling in gaps, because the way that they have the game set up is they have these like quest lines that set up through multiple days, and it's a pretty typical quest chain, really. The thing that makes it atypical is that you have to keep doing the loop over and over again, and going to different areas at different times a day to gather different intel, essentially. And so that part is interesting because, like I said, the areas do change from time period to time period based on what time of day you go, and you have to go at specific times a day for certain side quests even to open up. And and you can stumble upon like big things accidentally in this game. Like you can go tackle a side quest that seems insignificant, and then you stumble upon like something pretty major. So it's been fun. But like I said, I don't feel like I have to like sit down and pound this game. Like I can play other things and get to it when I have time.
So I've only put about maybe hour, maybe 2 hours into it so far.
Have you finished? So do you have the have you unlocked the ability to absorb Residium yet? Because that's basically like the end of the tutorial, essentially, is the Residium. So
no, let's see. I got the I basically did the first when you go to his apartment. That's pretty much all I've done.
Okay, so you really haven't even.
Yeah, I haven't really scratched the surface. I had to fucking find the reason that racism exists.
Well, so you beat Tales of Arise then?
Yes, I finished Tales of Arise. So I'm going to so I can kind of put that on the back burner. I'm going to mop up like trophies, because I've looked at the rest of the trophies and they seem kind of like doable. But I'm going to put that on the back burner. I'm going to play Deathloop until Friday before I give Lost Judgment a try. And those two games are going to balance me, because like Lost Judgment and the studio that makes that game, I can't remember the name off the top of my head. They make games that take forever and a day to finish.
Mhm.
And you can get burned out on them very easily. So Deathloop is going to be my palate cleanser.
Okay. I think it works well for that, because since it is run based. So like the other day, the last time I played, I really wanted to like explore this one area at a specific time of day, just to kind of like noodle around and fuck around stuff. I literally spent like an hour and a half in this one zone, but I feel like I accomplished a lot. Like I came out with a lot of residium. I found a lot of like upgrades and trinkets and stuff like that I was able to lock in essentially. And so like, even though I only went to one area and I played for like an hour and a half, like I still felt like I accomplished a lot. But again, it fits nicely into kind of whatever time period you want to play it within, which is handy.
So I will say, in my hour or maybe of playing, that game looks way better than any video does it justice. It's smooth, and I was a little worried because the arcane color palette looks a little muted to me at times. But no, that game looks way better. It feels way better than what videos would lead you to believe, which is nice. And I like Colt. I didn't know if I would like Colt. Colt walks that line of being a character that is like, he's very much a black dude, right? But he's not like Coltrane black dude. He kind of walks that line. Not that there's anything wrong with Coltrane from Gears of War. I enjoy that character, but at the same time, that character is like, woo, loaded, yes sir. Like, ooh, all right, calm down. But Colt has the right amount of like realistic dialogue that I would imagine someone who woke up in his situation would like. The delivery is very, very good.
Yeah. So
for that character.
I may not be the best person to make this comparison. He strikes me as like, what if Luke Cage was like coming of age in the night, like was an adult in the 1960s kind of thing.
That is a very apt analogy. Not that whack ass Luke Cage from Netflix, but like the real like comic book Luke Cage. Yeah, that's the Sweet Christmas Luke Cage. That I like that analogy. He's a very interesting character. And I'm looking forward to playing more of it.
Yeah, it's cool because like I said, like Juliana talks to you basically every time you venture into a new area. So multiple times a day, depending on how many areas you're venturing into. And she like I haven't heard any repeated dialogue. The dialogue hasn't gotten old. Like it's very I guess the closest comparison that I can relate it to is kind of like in BioShock, when you were first talking, like when you were kind of building that relationship with Atlas, as you go through the game before that whole twist. That's kind of like, so like it's that kind of like back and forth between them, which I think is pretty cool. And like I said, the environments are varied, and again, I went to one area like 4 times before stumbling upon half the things that are actually in there that I never really noticed before because I didn't explore enough. And the game even tells you like don't feel like you have to explore everything the first time through, like because you're going to come back a ton, so you can do it then. It's good. I like the visionaries. Visionaries are like if you want the over the top characters, like the visionaries are like the over the top like caricatures of
all right. This game has a lot of allusions to 60s era spy movies, and the music and the feel of it, right? And when I think 60s era spy movies, I think like James Bond henchmen, and
Yeah.
they are over the top characters. So good. I'm looking forward to seeing them and murdering them in the face.
So very cool. So more to come on that. Aside from that, I'm just continuing to play F1, which I'm getting better. Like I'm much better at driving the car. And let me tell you something, getting good at driving in F1 has translated into getting better at driving in Gran Turismo, because it's a lot easier to handle the cars in Gran Turismo than it is a Formula One race car. I'm still very bad at F1. So like I started like the My Team mode, which My Team, first of all, one of the most contrived modes I've ever seen in a game. Like, so like they have a typical career mode where you can take over the career of either like one of the existing drivers, or you can create your own driver and insert yourself on like one of the teams, essentially. But My Team is even better, and they've had this mode in the game for a couple of years. In My Team, you play as the driver owner of a new F1 team that's the 11th team on the grid. So you not only have to you not only have to drive in the races, but you also have to manage like the R&D on the team and develop your car and manage the finances and all that kind of stuff as well. Like I said, the concept is contrived. Like you could have easily just been like, hey, you're the owner and you can just take control of one of your drivers. But I guess they want you to really feel that ownership, because they also have like cut scenes where like you have to give interviews and talk to the press, and based on the answers that you give will raise or lower your stats, or like your department, like the different departments you have within your company, you might, you know, take notice of your answers, and it might motivate them or demotivate them, like that kind of thing. So it's like I said, it's a funny concept to me. Because like I said, I'm like this like 25-year-old guy. It's like, you own an F1 team and you drive for it. This is amazing. I'm just like, feels implausible, but okay, because it costs a lot of money to run an F1 team. But it's been a good time. I have still not, like, I finished last in every race so far though, because I keep damaging the car because I'm having trouble getting off the grid and getting through like the first couple turns without like clipping into the back of somebody and like damaging my front wing on lap one, and then having to pit immediately and then getting fucked for the rest of the race, essentially. So I'm still learning F1. Gran Turismo continues to be a fucking pleasure. Like I said, driving hour-long endurance races with a real wheel is actually a lot of fun. So
I would imagine. Other than just sitting like this for a fucking hour.
Yeah. It is a lot more exciting. There's quite a few new games coming out this week. Super Arcade Football comes out for the Nintendo Switch. Kena Bridge of Spirits comes out for PC and PlayStation. Sheltered 2 comes to PC. World War Z Aftermath comes to PC, PlayStation, and Xbox. Source of Madness comes to PC. Test Drive Unlimited Solar Crown comes to PC, PlayStation, Xbox, and Switch. Okay. Diablo 2 Resurrected comes to PC, PlayStation, Xbox, and Switch. I did not realize that was coming to Switch. Ember comes to PC, PlayStation, Xbox, and Switch. Fufy's Adventure comes to PC. MechWarrior 5 Mercenaries comes to PlayStation. Medieval Dynasty comes to PC. Sable comes to PC and Xbox. The Death Stranding Director's Cut comes to PlayStation 5. Dragon Ball Z Kakarot, I don't know, comes to the Nintendo Switch. And Lost Judgment comes to PlayStation and Xbox Series X specifically.
Oh wow, no Series S.
I mean, according to this, it doesn't say it.
It's almost like that thing didn't need to exist.
Honestly, I'm I want to get an Xbox, right? It's a lot easier to get a Series S than a Series X. But like, I don't know. I just like knowing that the X is out there. It's
what's the point? Like, I just don't, I don't. It doesn't do it for me. It's like, hey,
but really all you'd be losing is the optical drive, which I don't care about, and 2Ks, because you still get 2K on the Series S, and then you can get up to 4K. Well, I guess you can get up to 8K on the Series X, but
yeah,
I
the
don't have an
Series.
8K
I
monitor,
mean,
so it's
if you don't have, a monitor there, but you can future proof it, right? It's like saying, oh, I can technically eat this food with a toothpick, but forks exist. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know.
I don't know. But S's are more readily available than X's.
Yeah, there's probably a reason for that because don't nobody want them.
I don't know. I'm just thinking of it from the perspective as this is a secondary
if you're
console. All I'd probably be getting is Game Pass and playing whatever Game Pass, bequeaths upon me.
Honestly, I probably wouldn't get either if I were you. Mm-hmm. There's nothing on there that you would play that you can't play on PlayStation. And
that's not true. I can't play The Ascent on PlayStation. I can't play.
Okay, but are you
Halo Infinite on PlayStation?
Yeah, come on, man. I can't imagine you playing a bunch of Halo. I think you would play The Ascent for a while, but I think if you hold out, mm-hmm. you're going to be swimming in games on your PlayStation mm-hmm. that you probably won't need that second system.
You're probably right. Again, the thing that I'm at odds with is the need to be in the zeitgeist all the time.
Well, yeah, I understand. Trust me. But I'm forcing myself to play Judgment on my Xbox. One, because I don't have any money, and two, I always keep money on my Xbox account. And two, I have the first one on there. So
yeah.
I don't know.
I've heard. So on some podcasts I've listened to, I've listened to some folks that have gotten review copies of Lost Judgment talk about the beginning of that game, and I cannot wait to hear your recap of the beginning of Lost Judgment next week.
Excellent.
Because it sounds hilarious and incredibly Japanese.
Oh, I love it. I love it. It takes me back to the early 2000s when I was in college, and that's all I would do is watch Asian cinema. I'm looking forward to it. Awkward transition. Go to densepixels.com/fans to go to.
You like Asian cinema?
Yeah. Go to densepixels.com/fans to be invited into our Discord. You can, let's see, I'm there now, and we talk about a lot of stuff. There's a post office where you can post literally anything you can post any questions or comments that you have for us at any time of the day, and we will read them within the week. There's a channel that's looking for groups. There's a memes channel. There's other stuff that we talk about on this show, including like wrestling. Like there's some sort of Carrie. Why is Carrie in the wrestling channel?
Because the Miz is on Dancing with the Stars.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
But yeah, we talk about a lot of fun stuff. There's an F1 racing channel. There's an English Premier League channel. So go to densepixels.com and get invited to our Discord. You can also go to youtube.com/densepixels and subscribe to us. Click the bell notification icon and select all to get all of our videos. You can see us in very different lighting. Brad is in some nice warm lighting, looks bright, and I am here struggling with white light, trying to make sure that I am seen but not washed out. So go to youtube.com/densepixels. You can subscribe to all of the TMP podcasts wherever you get your podcasts, including the Nerdpocalypse, Black on Black Cinema, Coming Distractions, and the weekly preview episode of the Look Forward Political Podcast, which Brad is going to record right after this one. And if that's not enough, for $5 a month or $50 for the year, you can get access to the premium content by going to densepixels.com/premium. You'll get access to the airing of grievances, which is coming back very soon because we all have the DVDs of Seinfeld, but like, who knows how to use a DVD anymore?
No.
So Netflix is bringing all of Seinfeld to their platform in October. So we will start those back up again in October. No Time to Bleed, The Men with the Golden Tongues, which we plan to record our second in our Metal Gear Solid series, Metal Gear Solid 2, Upstage Conversation, and the full episode of the Look Forward Political Podcast at densepixels.com/premium.
It's going to be wild. I can't wait.
Yeah.
Quantic Dream is back in the news for a couple things. The first of which feels shocking to me. And that is that reportedly Quantic Dream is developing a Star Wars game. And has been for the last 18 months. According to the report that came from Kotaku, who cited an unnamed source familiar with the project, the game is going to focus less on quick-time event style mechanics and more on traditional action elements, which I don't know, honestly, if that's a good thing or a bad thing, because all we know from Quantic Dream is they are the moving, the interactive movie video.
Exactly. They're the interactive movie people. Look, they made a game a long time ago called the Nomad Soul.
Mm-hmm.
And I played it on a Dreamcast, and it was their like action game.
Mm-hmm.
And from what I remember, now this was 20 years ago, from what I remember, it wasn't like the best thing in the world in terms of like action, but it was also 20 years ago.
Right.
So I don't really know what to predict on an action front. I do kind of have a feeling I know what to predict on what the studio is kind of known for.
Mm-hmm.
Getting big name C- list actors to come in and deliver a ham-fisted story. And look, Star Wars.
You're hitting rude to hit Willem Dafoe and Elliot Page with C-.
Oh, you know what? I totally forgot they were in. I totally forgot because I consider them like actors.
Yeah.
So I totally forgot that. Jesse Williams. I don't
that's fair. That's fair.
Yeah, I totally forgot those two were in. And ironically, I have not played that game. Like, that's the only game of theirs that I haven't played, starring the best actors that they have ever gotten.
Don't you own it? I think they gave it away for free.
I think I do, and I just never played it. Like, I guarantee you that game was on PlayStation Plus, and I never played it. So I might have to go back and play it. But I just can't. Like, they fucking Quantic Dream, man.
Man, I'm a little like, man, Clancy Brown, C-.
What game was he in?
He was in Detroit.
As what?
Hank Anderson.
Oh, that's right. He was in it. He was in it. Yeah. I forgot.
I mean, I know, I know Lance Hendrickson is in fucking everything, but is Lance Hendrickson a C- list actor?
Okay. All right. I'll give it. They had a
few guys in there.
I'll give you B-, and then the anomaly that was the one with Willem Dafoe and Elliot Page.
Yeah.
I can't even remember the name. Beyond Two Souls.
Yeah, that's what it was. I can't. So like, I can already picture what the story is going to be for this game. It'll happen in like the Old Republic, and there'll be two superpowers in the galaxy. In a state of standoffish conflict with one another, that they never escalate to like actual battles, but there's a lot of like espionage going on for many years. throughout the galaxy as these two superpowers grapple for control to be the dominant superpower in the entire galaxy, perhaps between like the Jedi Order and like the politics side of Star Wars, a Cold War of sorts between the two, and we'll have like a lot of like you could have like the president on like the politics side could be named like like President Nix or something like that, and then a Jedi leader could be like Gorb Ochov could be like their name, and then that way that it's very original story, not based in any kind of history.
Yeah, because that's what they do, right?
Yeah, like I said, just based on their last game, very very original story. They had a dream to be able to tell the story of android rights in the future, based on nothing.
Oh, and they got a known celebrity activist to be in it, coincidentally, playing the oppressed person.
Yeah.
Look, David Cage is not going to win any, writing awards. He's not.
I'm just kind of over like Detroit seemed cool, and then like when you told me about the storyline behind it, it completely killed any excitement that I had for the game, because like as you were telling me about that, like it was very clear that it's like, oh, they literally just made the civil rights struggle like to the point where like androids are like sitting on the back of the I'm like, come on, like
yeah,
it's that's low hanging fruit. Like I enjoyed Heavy Rain as much for I thought the story was interesting equally as much as like the memeability of the game. Like the game was an incredibly memeable game. I did not play Beyond Two Souls either, so that's why I was kind of looking forward to Detroit. But like I said, I was completely unenthused. Now you're bringing Star Wars into the mix, which at this point, my enthusiasm level for Star Wars, if it's possible to have a negative amount of enthusiasm for that is where I'm at right now. Like the only Star Wars thing I'm even remotely interested in is this KOTOR remake, and only because I've never played KOTOR. Like that's the only reason that I'm interested in it, because I want to experience this beloved game that everyone says is amazing. So.
I mean, here's the thing with KOTOR, right? Like, well, okay, a couple things. One, you're absolutely right about Detroit. It's very ham-fisted. I don't mind like blatant storytelling, right? I just finished Tales of Arise. And that shit is about an oppressed people being enslaved by other people, right? Like it's fine, but that game has other things going for it. Whereas Detroit is the most passive video game that every game that they make is just the most passive experience of video gaming that you can have, right? Like they are literally, like you said, interactive movies.
Well, and that's the thing, like Heavy Rain, it's almost like, because of the way the mechanics work in the game, you're almost like observing the experience because of how passively you're interacting with it. I mean, really, you have more agency in like a Telltale game in a lot of ways, because at least the choices that you make in a Telltale game have direct impacts and throughways on the story. I guess you kind of do in Quantic Dream games as well, because based on things you do or how well you perform, like different things can happen, and there's a lot of branching paths and things.
You get different endings depending on.
But you feel much more like a passenger, or at least I did in Heavy Rain. Like I felt almost like I was watching a window into this story unfolding, as opposed to really driving it.
Yeah, you don't. Their games aren't games that you feel like you got to go back and replay to get a different ending. Mm-hmm. Like the ending I got is the ending I got, and so be it. The thing with KOTOR, for people who've never played it, I'm very curious to hear their experience because I feel like KOTOR it gets the nostalgia bump, man. Like it has a twist in it that it is, you know, I that's what the game I think is known for.
Mm-hmm.
No one talks about the way that game plays. No, people barely talk about any of the other characters, right? Like who the fuck remembers Carth Onasi, right? Like he's not a character that people just kind of are like, oh boy, I can't wait to get whipped back into the adventures of Carth Onasi, right? It's a game that's very good. Don't get me wrong, it's a very good game, but I think people are seeing it through rose-colored glasses because the game actually fooled them. Like the game actually got an emotional, like, oh shit.
It's ironic that you're making this argument towards KOTOR, because I think if you weren't if you weren't such a big fan of this series, I feel like the same argument can be levied at Mass Effect 1. In a lot of
maybe
ways, because the big moments that happen in Mass Effect 1 paper over the very weak parts of Mass Effect 1, of which there's a lot in modern, you know, when compared to modern sensibilities in game design.
Yeah, that game plays like dog shit, man. But I feel like Mass Effect has a couple different big moments, whereas KOTOR has one gigantic moment.
Right.
And so I'm very interested to see how people look. I'll be the first one to play that goddamn KOTOR remake. You better believe it. But I'm very curious to see. I got KOTOR on my goddamn phone right now. That's how much I love that game. But I will. I'll be very curious to see what people think of it, and you know what is done differently, if anything.
Yeah, I got it. But I got to say, Quantic Dream's take on the Star Wars universe.
Yeah.
And here's the other thing that worries me is the same thing that worries me with every new Star Wars property that's coming out. The other reason that I'm, you know, passively interested in KOTOR is because it's not the fucking Skywalker era canon saga. Like that's my worry, is that they're gonna do some sort of, like, you know, offshoot of something that of a story that we're already intimately familiar with, or that takes place around a story that we're intimately familiar with.
Yeah, I don't want a like a sequel to episode 9 through this, right? Like I don't want, like, you know, Finn and Rey and all that. I don't need those actors to come in and do this. I just kind of want to be done with that. Star Wars is so much bigger than just those 9 chapters.
You would think that.
So yeah, I we'll see. God damn it. Like Detroit, I was just kind of like, all right, I think I've had my fill of Quantic Dream. But I'll be lying if I said I wasn't somewhat interested in what they plan on doing with a Star Wars license.
Yeah, but this is what we're gonna see now. Like, we're gonna see a lot of other studios get to take a shot at Star Wars now, with the EA exclusivity being a thing of the past.
Yeah,
at this point. So we'll get to see what other folks have to bring to the table with the Star Wars universe. I need Leonardo to tell me. Leonardo, I'm putting out the call to Leonardo to tell me if there is a current generation Star Wars property that does not revolve around the episodes 1 through 9 or have any relation to that canon that I would enjoy. Like, is there a TV show, a specific series of books, even a graphic novel that I would enjoy that tells a kick-ass Star Wars story that is not Skywalker adjacent in any way, shape, or form?
What was that?
That is in KOTOR.
What was that one? Was it Shadows of the Empire?
But that's Skywalker adjacent. Well, and to be clear, I love Shadows of the Empire. Shadows of the Empire, technically not canon anymore. So fuck off.
Oh yeah, that's right. That's right. I think And look, to be fair to Star Wars, this gigantic multimedia conglomerate idea thing that doesn't need me to be fair to it at all. The Skywalker stuff is like the big deal, right? And of course, everything is going to revolve around that, right? Like they effectively destroyed space Nazis. You know what I mean? And think about all the games that revolve around World War II that we do. So I've softened on stories being around and about that. But I do agree with you. Like I want this. The property is just like you could literally do anything.
Right.
You could literally do anything.
And again, it doesn't have to be like I heard the point made, like, you're probably not going to see much in the way of like after the Star Wars saga content, like in the future of that. But there's, how many thousands of years of the past that you could really riff on as much as you want, because with the past, at least what the destination is, so you can craft almost any narrative you want to around that. And they did before the Disney acquisition. So
they kind of are trying to do that now. I know this is like Star Wars talk and from two people that are just like one person is just like casually into it and the other has literally negative interest into it. but they are kind of doing that with a series of books that they have that take place in the High Republic. Okay. And it's kind of like a fresh start for Star Wars. Okay. And so but I don't know if this would be your thing either.
But see, I'm willing to give it a shot because I enjoy the world of Star Wars. There's just so many things about Star Wars that I despise, that I've grown to despise. The fandom being incredibly toxic, and the lackluster book ending of the stellar original trilogy, and the fact that the EU fairly got blown up because obviously Disney shouldn't be beholden to all that canon that got written, but there was a shitload of fucking tapestry that got woven by all these authors and other stuff that they built a really interesting, fully fleshed out universe. And it's just like, well, we're just gonna press down the plunger and look, all that exists are these 6 movies and this one TV show.
All that exists are everything we bought.
Yes. So like I said, we'll see what happens. More Quantic Dream news, because just one Quantic Dream story is never enough in a week. So we talked quite a bit about the charges of harassment and all sorts of wild shit that got reported about Quantic Dream in the French newspaper Le Monde, and which was proven in court, by the way. Like we talked about how judgment was ruled against them. Well, the founders of Quantic Dream, David Cage and Guillaume de Fondemier, basically sued Le Monde for libel based on the story that they reported and were again proven to be found guilty of in court. And they won this libel suit against Le Monde because Le Monde wasn't willing to betray their sources to prove that the stories were true. So they basically had no way to refute in court the case that Quantic Dream was bringing against them. And so even though the information is probably true and a court judgment was won against Quantic Dream, they can't they've been proven that Le Monde libeled them at the same time. Fucking French court system, apparently incredibly weird.
Yeah, apparently it's just incredibly easy to subvert the law.
So for those not familiar, and we have a mostly US centric audience, so you might not be, the US is actually one of the few places that make it very difficult to go after publications for slander and libel. It's really difficult to sue like a newspaper or a magazine in the US or a TV station for libel or slander, because of how the US justice system works. In Europe, they have very strict libel laws, actually, in a lot of European countries. So that's why this is not that much of a shock. My favorite part of this is in this trial, according to so the Quantic Dream lawyers, the Le Mans article only came about because it was revenge for the co-CEO refusing them access to the VIP section of a Quantic Dream party, which to me, if true, sounds like the most French reason to file an expose on someone that I've ever heard in my entire life.
Oh shit! You know what? It's 100% true. Look, I fashioned myself as an amateur francophile, and those people are petty, and they don't like they're petty and they're uppity, and yeah, this is 100%. That was 100% true. I believe it. Okay, all right, Quantic Dream. I mean, you're still French, so everything that was said in the expose is also true, right? Like, it's weird because like I believe that that's why they investigated, but I also believe that everything they investigated is 100% true.
It's like I said, so the stories that were told from that expose are fucking wild. And again, the fact that Le Mans was hiding behind their source, essentially, to me kind of leads credence to it. I'm glad they didn't dime out their source, which would have been shitty. But just like I said, the French legal system apparently fucking wild when it comes to this stuff. Finally, more legal news. So the Blizzard Activision saga never ends. We got one of the more interesting twists in the tale this week, because now Activision Blizzard is up on some federal shit right now, because the SEC is now looking into the company because of this is fucking fantastic. Because let's see if I can find the reasoning in here. Basically, they're examining the company's disclosures regarding employment matters and related issues, because as we saw when a lot of this news first popped out, is that their stock price got fucked with. And as we said before, the people in the world that you absolutely positively never ever want to piss off is your shareholders, because they will fuck your shit up if you're not careful. So yeah, now the fucking SEC is looking into things. The SEC, not an organization that you want to fuck with, by the way. They don't really give a shit. There's an episode on Law and Order. There's an episode of Law and Order where the SEC was helping the DA's office investigate something. And so they had like a representative from the SEC as they were looking through this company's documents. And he said to them, "Oh, like I can't believe like I'm, getting threatened by the SEC. This is what you're resorting to." And the SEC representative said, "We don't make threats against people. There are people that cooperate and there are people that don't. And we have very long memories." So that's kind of what the SEC is about. As part of this investigation, none other than Activision CEO Bobby Kotick has been subpoenaed by the SEC to provide information documentation as far as what they're looking at.
Jesus, buddy. Yeah, good. I'm fine with Bobby Kotick. Anything not bad, but like anything to fuck that guy's day up. I am A-okay with.
And then very shortly before we started recording, another news story came out that said Chaco Sonny, who is the executive producer for the original Overwatch game, and he's the development lead for Overwatch 2, is leaving Activision Blizzard because he just is like, this shit's fucked up and I'm tired of being here right now. Like the reason he gave that he's taking some time off after working at Activision Blizzard for 5 years, but that's not like this is, to be clear, this is not a guy that's been named in any of this, any of the goings ons and the culture of harassment, anything like that around the company. So there's no reason to believe that he was a part of that. But now when you start to lose like really good people, like this dude was like Jeff Kaplan's like right hand man before Jeff Kaplan left. That's not fucking good. That's not fucking good when you start getting like a talent exodus.
Yeah, man.
from the shit that's going on. Like it's, people should be really concerned about Blizzard as a company right now, I feel like.
Yeah, man. It's that's what happens when like a ship is sinking, right? Like people decide, hey, I don't want to drown with these people, and people who have nothing to do with the boat, you know, sinking. They're like, I got to get out of here. That's what's starting to happen, and you know, good. I mean, examples need to be made.
Yeah,
and sure. And I'm perfectly fine with it. You know, this guy, look, I try to be as consistent as possible. I'm not here to be like, I'm not here to cape for corporations, but I also understand that like corporations exist and they can make life easier. And if they can make life easier, they're going to make $1 from it. Like, I get it. But at the same time, you know, if you are not doing what you're supposed to do, and if you are screwing with people and stuff like that, like, yeah, you 100% need to be taken down. So, you know, couldn't happen to a better company, I guess.
Yeah, it's like I said, it's just a wild, like, not that this was the catalyst for everything that's happened. Obviously not, because like the problems in Blizzard are a lot wider reaching than just the past couple of years. But man, like that one, like ever since the reveal of Diablo Immortal and like them getting kind of like embarrassed by the one dude asking the question, like, is this like a late April Fool? Like that whole fucking thing. Like, it's just been a fucking downward sinking spiral for them in a lot of different ways. So it's been crazy. But yeah, like I said, more to come on Activision Blizzard in the coming weeks, I'm sure, as time goes along. So
speaking of giant corporations who would make your life easy, but you know, you got to pay them to do it. Go to densepixels.com. That's we're not the corporation. That's / Amazon. That's the corporation that will make your life easier, but you got to pay, and you got to pay a lot. And we hope that you do pay a lot, but only if you go to densepixels.com / Amazon. See, when you go to densepixels.com / Amazon and pay a lot, we get a little bit of a finder's fee. I don't have anything interesting in my recently purchased items I've viewed. Let's see. A Samsung 980 Pro 1 terabyte PCIe internal gaming SSD M.2. Oh, I wonder if wonder why I was reviewing that.
What I'm hearing is that you're a big fan of the recent PlayStation firmware updates.
I'm just saying, you know, maybe I want to get a Patriot Viper VP43001 1 terabyte M.2 solid state drive. Pick up a heatsink while you're there.
How much are these M.2 SSDs?
The Patriot is 210 without an SSD. Yeah, that's not even. The Samsung is 180 without an SSD, 1 terabyte. You know, I was like, I'm a big baller. Let me see what these.
I can't. I'm sorry. I cannot play. I cannot pay $200 for 1 terabyte of storage on principle. Like, I'll wait till that shit comes down. I will delete games and reinstall them.
I know, that's what I'm like. I can't.
That's insane. Like I had a hard time here's the thing. Me and Micah, very different in this regard. Micah's tight with the dollar. I am not. Like, if there's something that's going to make my life easier or benefited in some small way, I do not mind spending the money. It was hard for me to spend, what was it, like 100, like right around $100, maybe a little bit less than $100 on like a 500 gig external SSD, to the point where when I bought one for my Mac, a 1 terabyte, I was like, you know what? I'll buy the hard drive and the enclosure separately because it's cheaper, because they charge you the money when they put the enclosure on in advance. So like, if you're expecting me to pay $200 for a 1 terabyte SSD that goes on my PlayStation, damn that. Like that's definitely not fucking happening.
Yeah, I need a windfall or something, man. I need, and I'm not even talking like, look, I get paid 3 times in October because it's a 5-week month in October. I still can't. Like, it's a lot.
Yeah,
it's a lot. Or you can get the 2 terabyte for $460 or $360. I'm sorry, $360. But look, if you are a big ball and PlayStation owner, please go to densepixels.com/Amazon and get yourself a new SSD.
So we go to the post office where you two can check out and throw some questions our way, like Daniel did, who says, you're at a fork in the road in your video game. How do you decide which path to choose? Do you just choose top versus bottom? Do you go with your character's motives versus yours? Totally random. Micah, how do you choose which path to go along?
I usually go down then up. If it's top to bottom, or I usually go left to right, because that's how I read. So I wouldn't go right and then left. That seems backwards to me. But yeah, and it's just I don't know. I have no idea why, but I literally had to do this in Tales of Arise. Like, there's a tower that you go to, and the one character is like, I think we should go up. And I'm like, nope, well, I'm the leader, so we're going down, and then we're going all the way back up. And she was right. We should have went up. But I
do try, like when given choices like this in games, I do try to role play as much as possible if I'm using a scripted character. Persona 5 made it very difficult to do that, because Persona 5 is the king of giving you 2 or 3 dialogue options that all say the same thing, and there's no penalty for choosing one over the other. Like, I remember like reading it, like wondering if like they were playing a joke on me, because I'm just like, you're literally saying the same fucking thing here with all these dialogue options. Like, so like it might be slightly different. If the character is me, like if I'm given the full agency for the character, then I just try to I play it off the cuff. I do what I would do, which unfortunately in some games leads to some inconsistent character choices, but I think it's more interesting that way. Like in Mass Effect, I find that I go certain directions with certain characters because I like them more, and I go other directions with other characters because I don't. And but that's truly role playing. That's what they want you to do in the games. Long as you get your Paragon and Renegade points one way or the other, that's all that really matters. Three got it right by just giving you like charisma points instead of making you choose.
Yeah, because I felt really bad. Like, that reporter was a bit of a dick, but like, I'm Mel Shepherd and I just punched this woman in the face. I'm like, yo, I didn't want to do that. Like, it was just so nah.
Look, that just tells me that once we discover space, we truly achieve gender equality. So
apparently, because he fucking cold cocked her. I was like, God damn, Shep.
Anthony asks, who has your favorite WWE entrance? I can't talk apparently. WWE entrance of all time.
Are we talking like one-offs or like just like, because I can't remember which. I think it was the second time Shawn Michaels and the Undertaker fought or wrestled. Like, Shawn Michaels descended from
that was the
heavens.
first time. That was the first time when he was wearing when he was in like the all white
Yeah, and then the Undertaker rose up from the ground and went all black like that. That was fucking awesome, man. Like I really dug that. But in terms of like just regular like what am I gonna pop for?
Uh-huh.
Um, I don't know. The song has a lot to do with it. You know what I mean? Like, or and if you have like a sound effect, like it depends on what the sound of it. Like Austin's glass breaking is iconic, right? Like, but like at one point they gave Ricochet a ricochet sound
So
before he came. I was like, yo, what are you doing, yo? What are you doing? And it was like just some cheap ass shit you get from a soundboard.
those are the decisions that they make sometimes. Like remember like right before Braun Strowman got fired, like they literally like when he was doing the train giving, like they literally overlaid like the train noise over the broadcast audio, which was insane. My answer to my favorite like entrance consistently is Triple H's. I think Triple H is from a both a musical and the like the spectacle is the best one, because like I said, I mark out for the water spinning because he's really good at it.
Yeah, like some people, it's either a stream or some people they just like they bukkake themselves with water. No, his looks like a fountain, man.
Yeah, it really looks good. Like I said, with the lights, you get to see the whole spray as well. He's like the LeBron James of wrestling entrances. Like as LeBron does like the thing where he takes like the powder and like above the scorer's table and all.
Yeah,
like that's literally like that. My favorite one-off entrance for the memes was the Shawn Michaels entrance, the Shawn Michaels WrestleMania 12 entrance where he came in on the zip line.
Yeah,
but only because you get the iconic like Vince McMahon, Shawn Michaels, look at that, like that whole fucking call, which is hilarious, and it's also hilarious to hear Mikey Watson do it all the time on Time of the Draw.
Yeah,
because he does a very good Cardi Mintz impersonation.
Finn Balor has a fun one just because everybody does it. You know what I mean? And Bray Wyatt had a good one. His was good before WWE decided, oh, hey, look at all these people with their phones. Let's project the phones in the background or whatever. Like, oh, the lights in the background. When it was just darkness and it was him and that lantern and everyone else had their phones on. Mm-hmm. It was really good. Yeah. But
Undertaker's was awesome in person. I'm glad I got to see that once before he hung it up. So
yeah. And
TV, it takes 800 years. So
and Kane, it just, the first time I saw Kane's live, you see that explosion with that like I don't know how they do it, flash paper, whatever, but you really feel that heat, man.
Yeah,
like it's something that is not conveyed on television. Like they don't really talk about like, oh my god, it's so hot, like, but you feel it, man. Like it's it was all right. It's pretty good.
But one of the better TV entrances was when Hulk Hogan, the Hollywood Hogan entrance stuff, when it would cut in black and white, they would do like it wasn't stop motion, but they would do like almost like the strobe effect as he was coming down in the ring. Like that was always a lot of fun too. Over Voodoo Child, easily the biggest loss, by the way, of watching old stuff on WWE Network is not getting the Voodoo Child theme, the NWO version as he comes down to the ring. So John says, so Teddy Long mentioned that Ric Flair called him the N-word and other racist issues in WCW. Gary Hart gave Teddy a blade and said, if these motherfuckers keep fucking with you, cut their goddamn throats. Given what's come to light recently, and John's referring to the Dark Side of the Ring controversy this week, I'd say Gary Hart was onto something.
Look, until I'm proven otherwise, I assume all white people are racist. So, so it just isn't, and it is what it is, right? Like I don't hate people for it, right? Like, but it's the safer assumption for me. and so, hearing stuff like this, right? Especially people from the South. Especially people of a certain age from the South.
Yeah.
Like, come on, man. Of course. You probably called him boy and all that shit, man. Like, yeah, like I 100% believe it. Yeah. All of them. Look, I loved Mr. Perfect as a young lad growing up. He was one of my favorite wrestlers. But then he went on this rap is crap. And I was just like, oh, there it is. He's a fucking racist. And I have no reason to believe why, but just that he didn't like rap music, like that doesn't make sense, right?
Apparently, Kurt Hennig was an enormous country music fan.
Right. Yeah. And I get it, but like it's just a safer assumption for me. So yeah, I believe that.
I don't blame you. So Ric Flair and people like Ric Flair are an interesting thing that we all have to reckon with in 2021, because we knew that Ric Flair was Ric Flair.
He said it
this whole time.
He said it.
Like the stories about this particular incident are widespread. Like we've known about this shit for years. Like Ric Flair running around the plane naked, wearing only his robe kind of shit, throwing his dick out around all over the place. Obviously, like the reporting about the sexual assault was not really public knowledge until this video came out. But Ric Flair and people like Ric Flair create an interesting reckoning, because we've kind of known that this is who Ric Flair is, but Me Too has changed a lot. But it's not like what we've known about Ric Flair has changed since Me Too. It's just that the things that he did back then, if he did them today, would be, like fucking get wrecked from society.
Right.
But like it's almost like people that we've known or shit kind of get grandfathered into like we're not going to hold your past transgressions against you kind of thing.
Yeah. And I think a lot of it is because, people like the guy. Right. Like he's got a personality goes a long way, man. You can be a real fucking asshole if you can make people laugh, if you can make people want to be you, want to hang out with you, people forgive that stuff, especially if you're a celebrity. And like kiss stealing, guys. Like he said it. Like that's who he was. And look, I'm not here to shit on Ric Flair. I think life kind of did that, which is why he was doing Car Shield commercials.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not here to shit on an old man, but at the same time, like you got to measure the man through all the stuff that you like and all the blemishes and shit. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like when Kobe Bryant died, some people were bringing up his sexual assault allegations. And while people were upset, because he had just died, I get it. You know what I mean? I get why someone would bring it up if you were a victim of sexual assault. Like that's part of his legacy, unfortunately. So and that doesn't mean you gotta hate the guy or cancel him or whatever. No, he did that shit. You don't have to be indignant about it like Tommy Dreamer was.
Yeah, I think that's the biggest thing, is that we have to just get comfortable with analyzing the totality of people. There's a phrase that gets bandied about, and I feel like this phrase, I don't mean to make light of the topic at hand, because I feel like this phrase does that to an extent, but no one should be judged as harshly as they were on their worst day, nor should they be lauded as good as they were on their best day, kind of thing. Like we need to measure folks through a complete lens. And look, I know people that were very upset about the Kobe Bryant thing, but for some folks, like that sexual assault allegation was literally like their first top of mind impression of him, or not impression, but lasting memory of him.
Yeah,
it's the first thing they thought about. I thought about with Kobe Bryant specifically, like an Instagram post that he made like with his daughter's basketball team that he had made like a year or so before that went viral, where he was literally calling out one of the children on the team for not being there for the game because it was more important she had a dance recital to go to. But these are real champions. I'm like, these are fucking kids, man. Like,
yeah,
Jesus
right.
Christ. And to me, like that, like the thing that defined Kobe Bryant to me was his like Jordan-esque level of hyper competitiveness for all the good and bad that label entails, because Michael Jordan also, you know, not a great guy in the grand scheme of things for the same reasons, which is why Last Dance was remarkable to me, that he allowed that much of his personality to be shown in a lot of ways. And I feel like that Ric Flair is the same way. Like, you're like, if you talk to wrestling guys, and Lord knows a lot of them have enough of a platform out there to get their opinions out there, especially old school dudes, they're going to have a lot of positive shit to say about Ric Flair, because Ric Flair's been around forever. He's been a guy that has helped others, you know, come up through the industry, is, you know, been a great in-ring performer, and sold for everybody and made everyone else look good and all that kind of shit. But Ric Flair also probably an asshole. I mean, the dude's been married for 6 times, known adulterer, like famously so.
Right.
It's been crazy. And so, like, I don't think anyone should be surprised that it's possible that like this instance of possible sexual assault, probably not the only time that Ric Flair has stepped into this, it waded into that side of the pool.
Right.
So, so again, as you evaluate people, just remember that stuff that is, you know, done that's acceptable in today's day and age might not be in 20 years as well. Not that was ever acceptable, but I mean, it certainly didn't have the light being shown on it that it does in this society with you know, with the advancement of Me Too. And I'm glad that it is. But like, so we've been knew that Ric Flair is this guy. Like, no one should be shocked. Yeah. Tommy Dreamer also, like he said, indignance is not the way to go.
Yeah, it really isn't, yo. It really isn't, especially not on camera, bro. Like, I understand, you know, you can think whatever you want to think, but like,
well, and you saw he walked that shit back at hyper speed. Once he realized that he fucked up. So
somebody, they were fucking with his money, so he was just like, oh, all right, sorry if I offended you. Like, all right, that's how I knew he ain't mean that shit. Well, sorry if you were offended. But he literally said, oh, I got 2 ponytails, somebody could be offended by that. Blah, blah. Like, you're comparing a haircut to sexual assault, dude. Like, what the fuck? Oh, so he did it was a joke. Like, nah, yo, nah.
Right. Well,
nah.
And like, I think he made the point along the lines of, well, you know, if it was such a big deal, like, why'd she take the money and not go to court? And I'm just like, that's such a tone deaf
what do you
way to look at like sexual assault cases, difficult to prove at the time. Like when they happen, they're difficult to prove. So like, I don't begrudge anybody who, you know, rather than go through that anguish of a court case that they might not win, like, you know, if they want to take some money to buy their silence, like, I'm not upset at the victims in those cases. Like that caused that shit to happen. And the fact matters, WWE would not have paid her out if there was, you know,
they wouldn't have paid her out if he didn't do it.
Like, reason to believe that it was true. So
right, like, yeah, come on, yo. Like, there's a reason they settled.
Right.
And it's not because she was a gold digger. Like, get out of here, man. Get out of here, man. That's a stupid fucking logic, man.
Yeah. Daniel comes back. He says, Diablo 2 Resurrected is almost here. Will people forget about what's happening at Blizzard just as fast as any other strategically timed release, or does this one change things? So it's interesting, right? Because first of all, Diablo 2 Resurrected not really being developed by Blizzard proper. It's being developed by Vicarious Visions, who really have nothing to do with this whole fiasco. Now that bit of nuance is probably going to get lost in the wake of things. I really don't think I really don't think that the goings-ons around Activision Blizzard is going to have a meaningful impact on the sales of Diablo 2 Resurrected.
No, yeah, I agree with you. That game is going to sell whatever it was going to sell.
Yeah.
Because people, they abhor it, the actions that the company as a whole has been doing. But either A, they realize that boycotting the game won't hurt them, or B, they just don't give a shit and they just want to play the game that they want to play.
I mean, also it's Diablo fucking 2.
Right.
Like if it was like some other, if it was Diablo Immortal and you had to pay for Diablo Immortal, let's say, maybe that might be a little bit, but this is one of the most beloved games ever.
Yeah.
Getting a re-release for the first time and playable on consoles for the first time. So yeah, I don't think it's gonna have a very big impact on the sales for this game. Film Wander says, what game that has never been adapted for film or television would make a good movie franchise?
I'm not going to say the answer that everyone is waiting for us to say. I'm not going to do that. So here's the thing, games and cinematic games and movies are they're cousins, right? Like any example that I can think of is already a cinematic game,
right?
And any game that I think is a good game in terms of gameplay will make a piss poor movie because
that's the thing I was going to say. So I'm gonna go one step further here and say that no game should be adapted into a movie, because movies just don't have the bandwidth to be able to properly tell the story that gets built in a game world, because of the amount of time that the game has given to develop characters and plot and things like that. Where games should be taken, if you're going to insist on creating live action versions of video games, you should be doing what HBO is doing and creating series that can be on your Netflixes and your HBO Maxes and your Hulus and things of that nature, because that is a much better medium for telling these stories.
But like a chapter based like mini series, right? Because you think about games that have strong-ish narrative, like you got the David Cage games, the Quantic Dream games. Those are movies, right? You just go from point A to point B. The Naughty Dog, the two big Naughty Dog franchises. I love those games, or I love Uncharted and tolerate The Last of Us, but they are going from one cutscene to the next, one story beat to the next story beat. I'll check out. I'm gonna check out The Last of Us on HBO. But you think about like Grand Theft Auto, like their stories aren't that great because of the structure in which that game lays everything out.
They're all like Grand Theft Auto stories are very slapsticky. Like I'd almost feel like instead of watching a GTA movie, like just watch any classic like Guy Ritchie.
Watch any crime movie, watch any Western for your like Red Dead Redemption fix. And then the other stuff, like people love BioShock story, but the reason you like BioShock is not because of it's because you are the person, right?
It's because of the immersiveness. So.
Right. Like the would you kindly aspect of it, like it blew your mind, and at one point you're stuck because the character says, would you kindly do this? And if you don't, well, the game just doesn't continue. Right. Like that's the thing that gets it. So I think there are titles that can do it. I think there are titles that like the Silent Hill movie was actually pretty good. But other than that, like, I don't think Portal would work because the whole thing of Portal is actually figuring out the puzzles.
Right. Like Horizon could be an interesting setting for a cinematic property, but again, telling a story in the world of Horizon with everything that's going on in there doesn't work in a 2-hour movie. You'd have to spread it out over, 6 episodes, 6-hour long episodes. Like you need that. The problem, the thing that makes video game stories special, the special ones, usually go hand in hand with a copious amount of world building, and it's difficult to do that when you're constrained by time, to let that stuff breathe, because then otherwise you're just telling a tale framed within a universe that you don't get a lot of detail on. And so unless your story is fucking rock solid and can be condensed into a 2-hour window, then you end up just getting a bunch of bullshit. So
yeah.
Finally, Cam asked, does Bray Wyatt debut for AEW this week during their big Grand Slam event? If they're wise, he doesn't, because I feel like that there's already going to be a lot going on at this event, because you have Kenny Omega versus Daniel Bryan for the very first time. You have a lot of other marquee matches that are going to be at this Dynamite. So I don't think that throwing another major debut on top of what's already a pretty stacked card is wise, because then the talk becomes all about Bray Wyatt. I think you want to let your event breathe a little bit and let the talk be about the wrestling as opposed to who you're bringing in.
Yeah, I don't. I'm gonna need. I like AEW, but I'm gonna need them to kind of like chill and develop the people that they have. They have a tremendous roster. Now you just need to do stuff with the people you have. One thing about them is they have a bunch of stables, and in the one sense, it's kind of good because you can get those people on TV, even if they aren't doing anything. But in another sense, like, it's bad because they're just standing around not doing anything. Yeah. Right? Like, look at Jake Hager, right? Like I forgot Jake Hager was employed with the company.
Remember when he was a marquee signing for AEW?
Right. Like, what is he doing? Remember Sean Spears? That was the first big, like, oh shit, it's fucking it's that 10 guy from, like, but like, what happened? Remember FTR? Like what happened?
The other thing with Bray Wyatt too is that so we have seen that he is someone who you can trust to kind of let run his show a little bit. Mm-hmm. And I don't think just popping him on TV is what suits what he's best at. I think him developing a character or developing some kind of story and then teasing up to that is a much more effective way to bring him along.
Yeah, he can't just be, because what's he going to be? Right. Like, he's what's he going to be? He's not going to be the Bray Wyatt character. He's not going to be the Fiend character. He's not going to be Husky Harris. He's like you said, he's got this is something that he has the capability of being like their Undertaker, right? Yeah. Like some mythic figure. But they said they're not going to do like mythic shit. Like they're not going to do spooky shit, or that's why the Matt Hardy like delete. That's why he's not that character.
We'll see. It's one thing to say that when you don't have anyone on the roster capable of pulling that off credibly.
Yeah,
it's another thing to say it, and I mean, they're already kind of dipping their toes in the waters somewhat with Malachi Black. Like he obviously doesn't have like the supernatural aspect about the character, but he definitely is still carrying over that Aleister Blackish persona with him, which is a bit of a darker edge in that sort of thing. So we'll see. Like I said, it could be it's interesting. But yeah, I don't believe them to not go back on that if it suits them. to suits them to do so at some point. And Bray Wyatt would be a guy that that would make a lot of sense to let kind of run with that.
Yep.
So that is it for the post office. We thank you guys for submitting your questions, which you too can do at densepixels.com/fans on our Discord. Subscribe to the show wherever you get the podcast. Please subscribe on YouTube overall by going to youtube.com/densepixels. Follow us on Twitch. I'm Densepixels Brad. That's Carrie. And don't forget Carrie is the Extra Life this year. She is the de facto Extra Life queen for Densepixels as well. So make sure you check out her Extra Life page. Donate if you can. She's kind of following the days this year. Should be a lot of
Watching the Deicide YouTube channel. Click the subscribe button while you're here. Make sure you check out our weekly podcast where we discuss the latest gaming news and our impressions on what games we've been playing.